Greetings, traveler. Often we see news in the games industry about how one company had a bad release and this is going to negatively affect it in the future, or that there has been so many layoffs in the games industry and surely the game industry is doomed from now on. I see this news and I think that they're full of doom and gloom, but if you look at it closely, they just scream of the huge opportunities that are out there. My name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 13 years now, and it's really as far back as the 80s that these negative game industry articles and game videos and analyses and so on come out. And the picture that they seem to paint is that um, games are failing. Nobody wants to buy games. Nobody is playing games. All the big companies are going to close. They're never going to make good games anymore. All the people working in the games industry are leaving to do I don't know what. And the more I look at this situation, the more I see that that's clearly not the case, simply from a factual standpoint. Games are still getting made. People are certainly still playing games. If you check any game demographic statistic or anything like that, you'll see that every year there's more gamers than the year before, at least for the last 10 years or so. So all this negativity basically wants to paint a picture that seems to be not in sync with reality. So let's talk about why this happens and how this is actually an opportunity in disguise. This happens seemingly because in news, negative stories always are more interesting than positive stories. If you watch any news segment anywhere in the world, at least 90% of it is going to be filled with some problem, some crisis, some hugely negative thing. If an event can be interpreted in two ways, it's always interpreted in a negative way, simply because this is what is profitable for news companies. Negative news are nowhere as, rather, positive news are nowhere as interesting to people as negative news. This seems to link back to psychology, specifically to the point where we notice that emotionally, it's far more damaging to lose something you already have than gain something you don't have. So if you put it in terms of money, emotionally, losing, let's say, $10 from money that's in your pocket already is far more damaging than just gaining $10 that you don't have right now. The positive feeling of gaining is much smaller than the negative feeling of losing. So perhaps this is why negative news affect us so much. But what does that mean for us in the games industry and for people who want to create games from today onward? Whenever I see these problems being reported that this game came out and it was full of bugs, or this game came out and its graphics were terrible, or this game had network issues and whatnot, that means in an unspoken way that if that game had great graphics, it should do much better. If that game had no network issues, it should do way better. If the gameplay was better, if all these problems didn't exist, if it captured all these opportunities, there is the unspoken promise that players would be more satisfied than they were with the not so good version. And that, I think, is the key why I never worry when I read news articles like that for a particular game or a company or the games industry altogether. Simply by knowing human nature, we know that, we have certain expectations of any product out there, whether it's a car or a shampoo or a game. We know what good would look like. We have a very intrinsic, very intuitive understanding about what would be good, what features would be desirable. So that is really our North Star when thinking about the games that we make. So it follows logic that if our game had fewer bugs, it would be more enjoyable. It also follows logic that if we could add the content in a game that more people would enjoy, then we expect the game to do better sales-wise. So all these articles that seem to expose all the negative aspects of game companies in the games industry, are really an opportunity in disguise. They tell us that, look, if only we could do this part differently, then we could do better in this kind of situation. Even articles like, this company is having so much trouble and they had to let go of so many of their staff, and that's a terrible thing. Yeah, definitely that's a terrible thing, but it also reveals the opportunity that all that staff is available to work for us or work for a new company out there. Now they have the freedom to move on to a project that will hopefully do better, or to a company that respects their work more. And that is the huge opportunity out there, and this is the lesson we can learn there. I feel there's no point arguing, why a company did this or that. It could be a skill issue, it could be some other unknown issue, and no matter what the case is, we have zero control over it. Whether we are conscious of it or not, even people in so-called bad game companies or strict game companies or whatever, everybody's really trying to do their best in the world, and just what is best is different for every one of us. We cannot go out and change what people have in their minds, but we can control our actions. So if for any negative piece of news out there, we can put effort into creating our games in the best way possible, then that is really the most positive piece of news we could generate. And if it makes it to the news or not matters not, because doing good work and delivering good games to our players is our higher purpose. So my way of thinking about this news is not to worry about what image they paint about the future of games or the future of the games industry. Try to see the opportunities whenever they emerge, opportunities for underserved game markets, underserved players, underserved game genres, or features that many players hope to see and they didn't see there. Think about how we can include them in our games, and think about, as always, how we can delight our players as much as possible. Anyway, these are some thoughts I was having about all the negativity out there, and I'm not trying to stop it, and I'm not trying to say it's wrong for people to be so negative, because people simply act in the way they see logical, just like everybody else. The interesting thing here is what we can learn and how we can use it in a positive, beneficial, awesome for games kind of way. So anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts of it. I know everybody has a lot of um, things they want to say on this topic, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, and as always, have fun.